Big Ed here, and today I'm bringing you another reloading video. Today we will be reloading 10mm, and we're going to be reloading 10mm for my Kimber 1911. And since this gun will be carried outside pretty much as a protection gun, you know, in the woods against bears, moose, coyotes, so on and so forth, we're going to be loading full power 10mm loads. I'm going to be using new brass today. I'm going to be using Starline brass. I love this stuff. I use this for a lot of hand loads. It's great brass. It's also reasonably priced. For projectiles, we're going to be using the Hornady XTP 10mm 180 grain. Since this is a semi-automatic pistol and it's proven to be a little finicky, I'm only going to stick to loading 180 grain bullets in my 10mm. I'm not going to mess around with 155s and 200s and so on and so forth. I'm going to go with 180s, and I think that'll be just fine. Primers, we're just going to use Winchester large pistol primers, and for a powder I am going to use Blue Dot, which is one of the top performing 10mm powders out there. So let's go ahead and we will show you folks how to start cleaning brass first if you have some old brass. So that's my tumbler right there, and basically to clean old brasses, once you have 100 brass casings that are dirty, before you deprime and resize them, you'll go ahead, put them in the tumbler, add your media of choice, whether it's corncob, walnuts. I think I use walnut shells, and then I always put a little bit of like rubbing compound in there to make the brass a little shinier. Then you'll go ahead, tumble them anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending how dirty they are. Take them out, shake out the media, and there you have your brass will be ready to be resized and deprimed. So the dies we're going to be using are the RCBS carbide set, and these will reload 40 and 10mm. And these are great dies. I've used them a lot. So let's go ahead, and we're going to set up our press right here with our depriming and resizing die, and there you can take a look at it. We'll just go ahead and show you folks how to set this first die up. So our first step is we're going to take our shell holder right there, and that is our shell holder, and this will hold 10mm. And right here you see we have some once fired 10mm brass, and that is Starline. I actually think these are my other hand loads that the other batch I reloaded a couple weeks ago. So you see the case fits in there quite nicely. So go ahead, we'll raise the ram up a little bit. Go ahead, stick that in there. We'll also put our old primer catcher in here, and that definitely saves a lot of mess. You don't have 100 old primers going down all over the floor. I usually reload in batches of 100. The reason is because primers come in batch of 100. Also, ammunition, projectiles come in 100 too. So it makes it pretty simple. And actually, brass comes in 100 too. My bag of Starline is also quantity 100. It's all 100, so it just makes it easy. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to raise the ram all the way to the top, and we are going to screw in our die till it just touches the ram. Some people believe in over camming these things. I think it's unnecessary. I'll put it in finger tight. That's finger tight, and then I will go ahead and we will deprime and resize our first piece of brass. These are carbide dies right here, and as you can see, that is deprimed and resized. A lot of people give me grief because I always lube my old brass before I use a carbide die. Carbide dies do not require lube, but since I've been in the marine industry for so many years, I tend to put lube on everything. It doesn't hurt to put a penny worth of lube on your old brass, but you can hear the primer falling down into that little primer catcher, which works quite nicely. And as you can see, it doesn't take that long. And this is a single stage RCBS rock chucker press. And once these are all done, you're able to start the reloading process. So that's basically it, folks. That is your resizing and depriming your brass. So our next step is we are going to set up the press, and we are going to prime, and we are going to expand the case mouths of our brass so they will accept the projectile and they will be primed. And what we'll have is our next die, if you can see it, there's a little black thing in there, and it's just kind of, you know, rounded, and it basically just pushes open the mouth of the case. That way it'll accept the projectile, and you can push it down there without folding the case down. The whole idea behind this is you want to work the brass the least amount possible, just so it'll accept the bullet, and the brass will last longer. All of a sudden, you don't need to deform brass more than you have to. So we're going to get it just so the bullet sits there and it doesn't tumble over, and that is the idea. So the other thing is there's basically two sizes of primers. You have small primers and large primers, and then you have 50 caliber primers. We're not loading 50 BMG today. So that is a large primer, and that will hold large pistol and large rifle primers. And for 10 millimeter takes large pistol primers, and those are our Winchester primers we're going to use right there. So we'll go ahead and we will insert our case mouth, insert our case into the press. We will get our projectiles ready to go. So we will go ahead, we'll screw our die into our press, just start it. You have our projectile right there. Go ahead and we're going to raise up the cartridge into the die. Lower it down until I feel some tension. There it goes, it's right there. So what we'll do is we're going to lower it now. We're going to give it about another quarter of a turn. Yeah, I could feel a little bit of tension there. And then we'll go ahead. First of all, we'll visibly inspect the brass. See if we can see. If you look inside the case mouth, I can see contact in there. So that might be enough. We're definitely close. Yeah, there we go. Actually, that even feels like a little too much. I can even back some off. So we'll go ahead, but that's all right there. It's still not very much. Go ahead, we'll give that one a whirl. Yeah, that's fine. I can feel that it's basically just sitting there. And if that's not expanded at all, what happens when you put the projectile on there, it'll just roll over, which is highly annoying. But I think we're all right here. So I'm going to go ahead and give it just a smidge more. And then I'm going to lock the locking nut down on that die. And then we will go ahead and we will, that's set up. And the next thing to do with these are our primers right here. This is a nice little tray, and it works very well. So you take this tray right here from RCBS. That is the bottom of a tray that's got these rings on it that works very well. Go ahead, flip it. Any of the primers are out of whack, but they're not. These are all right side up. So we'll go ahead and place those down. So we'll go ahead, we'll break out our bag of brass. Go ahead, we'll put in our first. Go ahead, expand the mouth, come down, prime it. So you can see, and then feel it. You can feel that's just a little bit recessed, and that's what you want. So that's our first prime piece of brass, and the case mouth is expanded to accept a projectile. The other thing that's important to do is as you're going along, reloading, you want to keep on double checking stuff. So we'll go ahead, we'll expand the case mouth, come down, prime it. Yep, you can see that's just a little below flush. Take a projectile. Yeah, we're sitting there quite perfectly. So we're in pretty good shape. We'll go ahead and we'll do a couple more. Then we'll go on to the next step. Expand the case mouth. Put our primer in our priming arm. Prime it. Some people will use a hand tool for priming cases. There's nothing wrong with that. I kind of like doing it on the press. I think it's fine. But teach their own. But there are other ways to do it. Yeah, that fits in there quite nicely. Perfect. So we're going ahead, we're making tracks here, so we'll do one more. You can see I'm just reaching for new brass, which is nice, until I build up a good stash of 10mm. I don't have a good stash of this. 10mm is not the cheapest to shoot, and that's why I am bringing you folks the video today. So that's good. We'll just check it one more time. And it's good too to load about, every 10-20 rounds. Once you got it set up, just go ahead and double check that everything's fitting together, and so you don't end up going through, and things can move around as you're reloading, so you don't get finished and realize halfway through your projectiles don't fit in your cases anymore, because that would not be pleasant. You'll end up saying a lot of 4-letter words. So I'll go ahead and I'll finish up this step, and then we will go ahead and we will do our powder charge, which will be our blue dot, which is definitely a top performer for 10mm. So there we go, there are our 100 pieces of brass right there, and those are all primed and the mouths are opened up, ready to accept a projectile. So the next thing we're going to go do is we're going to set up our powder measure on our scale right there with our blue dot, and we will get our powder charger right here loaded and ready to go. And we will charge the cases and we will seat our projectiles in kind of one step. Just a little side note here, the reason this video I'm going to chop it up a little today is because it is cold out and I have my John Deere heater, kerosene heater going, and when that thing comes on, it's loud and washes out all my audio. So let's go ahead and we'll fill up our powder drop right here. And the other thing I'll let you know too is if you reload multiple cartridges like I do, whenever you're reloading something, leave the powder out. Don't put it back on your shelf with the other powders. That way if you walk away or you do something else, you remember what powder is in there, so you don't want to mix powders up. The powder, the last time I reloaded 10mm, and I reloaded them with the same charge I'm doing today, so I'm hoping that my scale is right on. And kind of what I'll do, just to get everything kind of situated, right, I'll just do a couple of drops here, kind of get the powder flowing through the machine. Then I'll do, oops, some of that spilled out, so we'll go ahead. Go ahead and put that on the scale, and hopefully that our charge is going to be 11 grains of powder, and hopefully that's going to be right on the money. You can see I'm off by a touch. I'm just a pinch heavy, so I'm going to go ahead and lighten that up just a little bit. And this is important. You definitely don't want to screw this up. You do not want to overcharge a case, especially with 10mm. When we're making max loads, it's still a little high. I'll go ahead and just take a little more off of it. So we're there, and that's going to be our charge. So our next step is going to be, we're going to be charging each case, and then we're going to be seating the bullet in each case. Our last die here serves two purposes. This will seat the bullet, and that is our actual bullet seater, and you can see it's used right there, a little bit of copper deposit on the top of it. And you can see that I've been loading hollow points with it because the middle there's nothing on it. So all my 10mm so far I've loaded are hollow points. Yeah, that makes sense. And then after you're done charging the case and seating your projectile, you would remove the bullet seater out of the die, lower the die, and then we'll crimp it. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but there is a rim inside of that die, and that will produce a taper crimp, so it'll feed well in an auto-loading pistol. Another good thing to do is powder charges definitely can fluctuate over time, so go ahead and just double check your throws and make sure. So kind of while I'm doing something else, I will go ahead and I will double check my powder drop. So we'll go ahead and we're going to charge our first case, but basically just stick it underneath our powder drop, up, down, and then look into it to verify that it's charged. Actually, that's coming out pretty good on the camera. So you can see that looks pretty good, and that is our charge, and that is basically filling up the entire case. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a little bit of a compressed charge. So we'll take our projectile right there and go ahead, seat it, and we will put our die together, lower it in there. So this is my reloading book right here. I have two of them. I have another Hornady book over there, and I have a Sierra book that I can't seem to find. But this is good. This is our next important dimension that we're looking for. It's 1.26 of an inch. It's basically 1 1/4, just a little heavier, 1 1/4 inches. That's our overall cartridge length, and we want to know that when we're seating our projectile in our case. So we'll go ahead, and I've already got I already probably was a little aggressive, but I was all right. So you can see right there we're at 1.29. So we got to go down a little bit. So we'll go down just a touch more. And make sure so these are all important steps. So then we're down to 1.28. Yeah, perfect. So that's our overall cartridge length. You can see we're right on the money. 1.2. Actually, we're just a touch heavy. It's not going to matter though. So we'll go ahead and we'll lock that die down. Another thing I'll warn you folks about, so that round basically is almost done. All it needs to do is it needs a crimp. The other thing I will warn you folks about, make sure you charge your cases, because if you don't, you'll end up like me and I squib myself. And if you folks don't know what a squib is, it's when you reload a case and you don't put any powder in it, but it's got a primer. So the primer basically has enough power to launch the bullet down the barrel and get it stuck in the barrel, which is very inconvenient. Yeah, so we're right on the money there. So we'll go ahead and we'll do a couple more of these. Drop our powder. You can verify our powder charges in there. Grab a projectile. They're sitting in there quite nicely. And you'll notice, we'll go ahead. Yep, we're right on the money. And I'll just verify things. And it's important with reloading. Yep, we got plenty of powder in there. It's important with reloading because you can injure yourself, blow up your gun, or have a malfunction, or be in a situation where you need the gun to go off and it doesn't. And I'm very careful with my loads. And for this kind of stuff, I don't mind using a single stage press because I know my loads will be good. And what we'll do, we'll also verify the powder charge again. I'll drop another charge. I'll just let it sit there and even out while I keep on loading more. And that way I can just glance over, and we're still at 0 over there, so we're still good with our this one's big. I don't know what went on there. Oh, there we go. What's going on here? I don't think I'm flat here. Oh, you know what? The primer is sticking up. Yeah. See, that's a good thing. That's a good catch. I don't know if you can see this. I screwed myself up. The primer's sticking out. So that is a bum round. That's too bad. So this will be the last one we do. We'll show you folks, and I'll go ahead and finish up the batch. Grab a projectile. Just looked over at the scale. We are right on our 0 right there. Let's go ahead and verify our overall length. Yeah, we're right on the money. So we'll go ahead and I'll finish these up. So I've got all of my projectiles just about done right there. And the only thing I have left to do is to crimp them. So before we crimp them, and that'll be the last step, I have a case right here. This is just one of those MTM case guards. Holds 100 rounds, just like everything else. But I labeled it. And as you can see, I labeled it 10 millimeter blue dot, 180 grain XTP. That's to projectile. 11 grains of blue dot, and that is a max load. So I know what I have. And make sure you label that. That is very important because You probably will forget. I do. So I have rounds that I've loaded probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that are that I would have no idea what they are. They 38 specials, that are the full power 357 Magnum, so on and so forth. The other thing I do is I have a book, and I use this book right here, and I just write down. See, I have 9mm. Then I have some dates right there. There's one in 2000 and January, February, March of 5th of 2015. And then I have these last ones I've loaded, and I put the date 10mm, and that's 10/28/19. And I basically just duplicated the same recipe, hot muzzle blast. That was a note I made, and that was just, and I did 100 of them. And I should write that down, 100 count. But that's very good idea to keep notes of stuff. A lot of people bag on me for having manuals, but in books that use the internet. I use the internet. I love the internet. Obviously, I have a YouTube channel, so I have no problem using the internet. But I would go ahead and buy books. If anything, if the power ever goes out, I'm capable of reloading the ammunition with zero electricity. I could light a candle at her with a flashlight, and I could reload ammunition. I'm not reliant on the internet, which I'm proud of, and I like that. Doesn't mean I don't use it, but I'm not 100% reliant on it. So let's go ahead and we'll crimp these rounds, and we'll wrap this up. So this is our last step right here, and we'll go ahead and we'll crimp these things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a cartridge in here, and we have already removed our bullet seeder from this. Go ahead and we'll raise the ram up all the way, and we'll screw the die down until we, actually I already feel it, wow, until I have contact with it. So I'll just try another round just to make sure. That's there, yeah. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead, give it about 1/4 of a turn. Yeah, I can feel that. So I had a little bit of pressure. Then we're going to go ahead, because this is a taper crimp. Yeah, I can see it. It looks like I can see it. We'll go ahead and we're going to measure it. So I'll try to do this where you folks can see it. So our brass is 4.422 in the middle. Then we'll go up to the top. We'll try to get the very top of it. And we could use a little more crimp, that's not much. So we'll go ahead, we'll give it a little bit more. 4.2. Alright, we're good. So we'll go ahead and we'll lock that into place. I like to go by feeling too, because you know the die's going to work. So we're probably a total of, I would say, like 1/3 of a turn up. Actually, that's probably about maybe a 1/2 a turn. So we'll go ahead and, so that is the first completed round. You can feel there the press goes, yeah, there, and then that's our power stroke. That round might have already been the one that we did, so we'll try one more. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's gonna be perfect. Yeah, you can see it now. So you can see the shiny part just on the lip right there, just as I rotate it with the light. But that's completed round, folks. So that you have 10mm from loading from the start to finish, whether we're buying new brass like I did today or we're using old brass. I would say most of the time I reuse old brass, but for a lot of these my pistol and revolver rounds, I definitely buy new brass because the brass is affordable. You know, I think I got it on sale, and it was $20 for a bag of 100, so it's not bad. Normally you pay $40 for 50 rounds of 10mm, so I was able to get 50 pieces of brass for $10, so it's not bad at all. Yeah, every once in a while I'll go ahead and I'll double check these. Yeah, I can see the shiny part, but our die's locked down. Let's make sure I double check it. Yeah, it's locked down fine. And we'll go ahead and finish these out. The other thing I'm going to mention about reloading 10mm, just like any other auto loading pistol cartridge, I love reloading for my revolvers. As you know, I have a lot of you know, reloading 38 special, 357, 44 special, 44 Magnum. 10 millimeter, you're gonna have to be a little more picky with. And I'm probably not going to experiment with 10 millimeter. Once I get this gun set up, I've just ordered another spring because you folks that watch my channel know that I'm having problems with this Kimber 1911. And basically, my viewers, one of my viewers has helped me out saying that these come factory from with 20-pound recoil springs in them. You know, with 18.5-pound recoil springs in them. And some 45 ACP 1911s come with 20-pound recoil springs. So I was like, that doesn't seem right. So he also told me, he's like, try to break it in with 40. And he was like, I know you have about 1,700 rounds of 40. You sold your only 40. And go ahead, and since you have that, might as well waste it, and it's obviously you can save a lot of money and break the gun in. So I went down to my shooting range and I ran 100 rounds of 40 Smith & Wesson through my 10 millimeter Kimber, and lo and behold, it was 100% reliable. And I ran this through just a regular Remington white box and then one box of Winchester, and it ran great. And you could obviously feel the difference shooting 40 and 10 millimeter, but that made me realize, like, why is Kimber sending this gun out chambered in 10 millimeter with that 18.5-pound spring in it? And if it runs 40, it's definitely not going to run 10 millimeter. It's not running 10 millimeter correctly. So I'm a little annoyed, and he was just like, go online and order yourself a heavier duty spring. So I went ahead and I ordered this flat wire spring from Wilson Combat. I'm a big fan of theirs, and this is, yeah, 10 millimeter 460 Roland, 24 pound, but it's also got it needs a short guide rod. My full length guide rod in the Kimber is too big, so this spring won't run on it. That spring is not going in that revolver for now. So I kind of like the weight of the full length guide rod for the 10 millimeter and rather keep that in there. I can do a full swap. I ordered a new plug for the gun today, a Wilson plug. So if the Wolf spring that I ordered, which is another 24 pound or 23 pound Wolf spring, if that spring doesn't work, I'm gonna go ahead and swap out and put the whole Wilson kit in there with the new plug from Wilson I ordered. And if that doesn't work, I'm gonna send the gun back to Kimber. But hopefully that's gonna fix it, because if the gun was 100% reliable with 40, you know, with 40 cal, it's obviously a decent gun, but it just is the wrong recoil spring in there, and the numbers make sense. So I'm pretty disappointed with Kimber about it. When I do a full review of this gun, assuming I can get it to work correctly, I'm gonna nail Kimber on that, because that's pretty stupid that they're sending a 10 millimeter out with the same spring as 45, because there's a big difference between 10 millimeter and 45 ACP, and you feel it right away when you shoot it. It's a much more powerful round with a lot more oomph behind it, but we'll see. So there's my 100 rounds of 10 millimeter right there. They're all finished and crimped up, and you can see I've got them labeled as I was talking about earlier, and they will be fired out of this pistol right here, this 1911. The other thing I wanted to touch on too was the difference between loading for revolvers and pistols. I really enjoy loading for revolvers. The reason is I can reload all over the scale. Like for my 44 Magnum, I reload 200 grain just lead bullets for 44 Special, and I usually load them right in the middle of the spectrum. Not hot, not light, but right in the middle. And for the jacketed bullets, as you've seen, I've reloaded everything. Most of what I reload is 240 grain, and I'll reload those from anywhere from the middle to the max end of the spectrum, and then I will reload 270 and 300 grains for the Red Hawk, also for my Henry rifle that's actually right over there, and all sorts of different spectrums. And since they're not semi-automatic, they're not relying on springs and recoil and stuff like that, so they'll all work. And so I really enjoy doing that. And for a pistol, you don't quite have that option. You're not, you know, technically a pistol should not run something all the way in the light. And, you know, probably a Glock would. If you had a good Glock 20, you know, or Glock 29, it would probably run most of 10 millimeter you would throw at it. But something like this Kimber 1911 is going to be a little more finicky, or a Colt, you know, Delta Elite 10 millimeter, or a Les Spear, or some of the other ones. They're probably not going to run everything you throw at them. So that just means that you need to stick to a load, or depending on how much time, because that will consume a lot of time depending on what you're doing. You know, if you're reloading 155 grain all the way up to 200 grain, you're going to have to, you know, tailor the load to the gun, and then the springs to the pistol. You know, do you want to let your wife or your girlfriend shoot it, your kid shoot it, or a friend learn on it, and then you're going to, you know, dial down a load, have to lighten up your spring, so on and so forth, and then you're going to hunt with it. You know, this gun, I'd like to go boar hunting. I have a buddy of mine that just moved to Virginia, and I was talking, and, you know, like to bring this boar hunting. We'll see. But I already, you know, I've got some boar. This is that ammunition that I just finished loading will definitely work well for boars. Probably not the biggest ones, but, you know, it'd probably be pretty solid for some good 300-400 pound boars max. But yeah, you know, it all comes down to time, and that's my biggest problem, is I just don't have a ton of time like I used to when I was younger. Who does until I retire? Then I can have more time to spend out here to really work with loads. Like, you know, my 308's probably been, I've spent the most time developing loads for that, not recently, but in the past. And it just takes a tremendous amount of time, because you work them up in your garage, and then I drive up to Vermont, test them, and then write down my data, bring them down here, concoct some new ones. And this pistol I will not get involved with. I'm just going to kind of make a stout load that works with this thing, and that's going to be it. I'm going to leave it alone and just load that. And so hopefully these new springs come soon, and I will test this, and I'll be able to do a full review on this pistol for you folks. Because I'm definitely excited to review it, and I'm excited for it to work correctly, because it still does not work correctly. But folks, if you have any questions about reloading 10 millimeter, reloading any other rounds, feel free to post them below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And, you know, keep an eye out on my channel, because I also just ordered on Cyber Monday, ordered a Ruger Wrangler in 22 long rifle. I don't have a 22 that's, you know, that's manual operated. All my 22s are semi-automatics, from my Ruger Mark IV to the Ruger 1022. So I felt that I needed a good, it's funny, all my 22s are Rugers. I needed a good, either a bolt action or a single action Army Ruger, you know, 22 long rifle pistol. You know, a lot of it just to hell, you know, for people to learn on. You know, I have a lot of kids that come my way that want to shoot, and it's just, I think it's better to bring them up on something that, you know, that they have to work each round. They'll understand it better instead of just rattling off rounds out of magazines. But folks, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe.